What's going on, everyone? Welcome into Around the Felt Sports. I'm your host, Colin Tong. Joining me, Reagan Loescher. Brother, good to see you again.
Yo!
Time to talk some Arizona Cardinals football. What we think is going to happen in their 2025 season. We're going to break it all down for you, continuing our mini-series. Make sure you check out the rest of the series thus far. We're through four. This is our fourth division, so halfway point coming along here with the Cardinals. And look, this Cardinals team, man, they're getting a little bit of love from Vegas in the 2025, an 8.5 win total. So they're right on that. Are they going to be a above 500, below 500 ball club? You know, last year, this Cardinals team, they started 6-4, and they also had the toughest schedule in the league up until that point. But then they finished 2-5 as, you know what happens? Call of Duty comes out, Kyler Murray loses a little bit of his luster. The defense got hurt and kind of fell off a cliff under Jonathan Gannon. Some key adds to this defense, and wow, they really loaded up in that D-line. Josh Sweat, mega deal from the Philadelphia Eagles to come over after a Super Bowl ring. Calais Campbell, not the same player he once was, but still highly productive and a great leader for that defense. Walter Nolan, their first-round pick, defensive tackle from Ole Miss, former number one recruit, Walter Nolan. Never lived up to that status, but still, they see the talent, took him in the first, and Dalvin Tomlinson, another addition to that defensive line, completely overhauled it. They did lose Kazir White, their linebacker, wore the green dot last year, and Will Hernandez on their offensive line, who actually went in for a visit today for the Cardinals, might be coming back, recovering from an ACL injury. So maybe another boost to that offensive line, but really, not a lot of crazy losses for this team. They got better on paper for sure this offseason. In your mind, Reagan, is that enough for them to potentially push for a playoff spot?
It is enough for them to potentially push for a playoff spot. They won't ultimately win that playoff spot. I do have them going 9-8, so I am high on them. I do have them losing out in a tiebreaker to the Rams and the Bears for the final spot. But I like the offensive lot. I believe in Kyler. Marv, while he didn't have the rookie year that a lot had hoped, I still think he'll have a nice bounce back year. I'm targeting him in a lot of fantasy leagues. I fully believe he's the real deal. He just, had some growing pains, but I think he had a lot of people put way too high expectations on him early on. And Trey McBride, man, he is a stud. In my opinion, he's the best tight end in the league right now. I know a lot of people want to say Brock Bowers, but Trey McBride is the best receiving tight end in my opinion. James Conner still has a lot of juice in the tank, and even if he starts to fall off, I like Trey Benson a lot too. I'd love to see him get some more run this year. And guys like Michael Wilson and Greg Dortch, while they're not crazy uber talented guys, I mean, that's not the worst number 2 and 3 to have. I mean, Michael Wilson hopefully continues to develop, but he showed some flashes, had a decent amount of touchdowns last year, and the offensive line isn't amazing, but, you hope guys like Paris Johnson continue to develop so that they can become a stronger unit. And like you said, totally revamped defense. Love that they're bringing back Calais Campbell. Crazy to think that he was drafted in 2008 and is still playing at this high of a level. So hopefully he can be a great mentor for Walter Nolan, like you talked about. And, I'm excited for Will Johnson, who they finally have signed. He was one of the last second-round picks to sign, but they did sign him last week. And it's kind of cool. Rutgers beast, Max Melton.
Yeah, Max Melton. Yeah, he is slated to start. And yes, they did take Will Johnson. Forgot about Will Johnson in the ads, because he slid to the second round due to some health concerns, some speed concerns, and people started digging into his tape a little bit. He didn't play a lot last year, missed a lot of the season with foot injury. And, he had top 10 talk before the season started.
Dude, he had top 5 talk. I mean,
yeah,
I thought I was hearing people going he's going to be the next Sauce Gardner type. And obviously, injuries and stuff. But to get him late in the second round, to me, and, Rich Gannon pulling one out of his, Eagles, his friends over in Philadelphia's book, get a guy that slides super far that's supposed to be a top talent. And hopefully, like the Eagles do, you get a huge steal and people are scratching their heads being like, damn, the Arizona Cardinals just got, a top corner for a late second round pick.
Mm-hmm. It could certainly happen. He's got some straight line speed concerns, Will Johnson does, but he was at his best in Michigan in 23 when they were zone heavy, and he was able to drive on the ball, force a lot of turnovers, Arizona's zone heavy, so he does fit their defense. I do think it's a smart pick for them. Absolutely, where they got him. Walter Nolan, on the other hand, I don't know, man. I don't know. He never really fully put it together at Texas A&M and then Ole Miss. There's questions over his maturity, his practice habits. It's not just sound like Robert Nkemdiche when they took him out of Ole Miss all those years back. I don't know. Former number 1 recruit, Robert Nkemdiche, just kind of sounds like it to me. He ended up being a bust. But I got the Arizona Cardinals at 8-9, an improvement in my mind. But actually, they went 8-9 last year, so same record. Yeah, same record last year. But for me, it's just I like this offense. I really do. Kyler, weeks 1 to 10 last year, 12 touchdowns, 3 picks. Week 11 on, 9 touchdowns, 8 picks. It's like, at what point is he going to be able to put together a full season? Not for fantasy football purposes, because when he's healthy, his 4 years that he's been healthy fully, disregarding the time he missed in 23 and 24 with the in 22 and 23 with the ACL tear, he's been a top 10 fantasy quarterback every year. It's not what I'm talking about, though. It's just pure play. Just always falls off a cliff at the back half of the season. And for me, when you look at their schedule, it's not necessarily difficult, but from week 11 on, it's the third toughest. So I think they're going to falter down the stretch. And we might be looking at the Cardinals at the end of October being like, wow, it's a surprise team. They're 6-2. They're 7-3. And I think the wheels will fall off again. And we thought it was Cliff Kingsbury's fault.
You think they're going to like getting a freaking epic car crash if you got them going 6-2 and finishing 8-9?
I certainly think it happened. And everyone was blaming Cliff Kingsbury. It's like, this guy, man, they figure him out halfway through. And you know what Kingsbury did last year? Got Jaden Daniels to the NFC Championship game. I don't know, man.
He might.
I don't know.
I mean, I think he just might not be head coach material.
Okay, different argument. What if Kyler's been the problem the whole time? Why this team always falters down the stretch, right? So for me, I think that's going to happen. He's one of the worst deep ball quarterbacks in football. He actually was 53rd out of 53 quarterbacks over the last 3 years in expected points added per attempt. And that's what really hurt Marv, because they just put Marv out wide and be like, go fucking win. And when you have a quarterback that's inaccurate downfield, like Marv would have some big games when he'd convert on those, but Kyler was not good at getting the ball downfield. So I 100% agree with you. Marv is still Marv. Like, don't think of a slow rookie season where he only had 885 yards and 8 touchdowns that he won't live up to his draft status. He did have 10 games with less than 50. That's just showing you the boomer bust, which is Kyler Murray. But, Trey McBride, I would lean Bowers slightly, but like you can make it. They're 1A, 1B. They're 1A, 1B. McBride's awesome. Had 1,000 yards, first time in his career. His 27.5% target share, the highest amongst tight ends, which I was surprised about because, Bowers was like that entire Raiders offense after they traded Devontae Adams. So I'm surprised McBride had a higher target share, which is just music to your ears.
Yeah. I mean, he was the guy I predicted to have the most catches last year. He had 111. He did miss one game. He wouldn't have done it either way, but, he would have came damn near close. I mean, he finished 4th. I think
Jamar Chase had a ton of catches.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Jamar, let me see. Because I think even if he played that one game, like it wouldn't have, I mean, he still would have came short of Jamar because I don't think he would have had a 16-catch game. But he would have been like, if he got another 9, I mean, finishing at 111 catches as a tight end is insane.
It's very insane.
Bowers had 112, but in one more game. So that's why it's like, and the funny thing is, he only had 2 touchdowns last year, and Bowers had 5. So it's like both guys, I think, have an uptick in touchdowns, especially McBride. Like,
agreed.
So even if the catches go down and he's more like 90 because Marv, carves a bigger role, I would still expect him to get to like 6 or 7 touchdowns. So I'd be targeting him in fantasy. He's my number 1 fantasy tight end, and definitely trying to get him in all platforms because that is like elite wide receiver type of volume. It's just the touchdowns is what kills you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then James Conner, man, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, career high 283 touches at 29 years old last year. So, he's on the wrong side of 30 now, but 1,500 yards, 9 touchdowns. Like, he's healthy. He's thriving. He's insanely productive. He breaks tackles. He scores a ton of touchdowns. Like, I really like James Conner a lot in this offense. And the offensive line is solid. I don't have any gripes with it. It's more middle of the pack in my mind, but I think Paris Johnson's gonna be really good for him. It's not the offense necessarily for me that's gonna hold this team down. It's mostly Kyler and the defense. They faltered at the end. I do like Jonathan Gannon because last year I was saying this is probably the worst defense on paper in football. They were better than what they had on paper. So I got to tip the cap to Gannon there. And their defensive front, as I mentioned earlier, just got a ton better. Their run defense was bad, but you add all those guys, it can't be any worse. Zaven Collins led the team with 5 sacks, so they knew what their problem. And also Darius Robinson, who they took in the first round last year, didn't play until week 13, right? So that's almost another first-round pick coming back. And BJ Ojulari missed all of last season with a torn ACL. They took it the second round in 23. So you got 6 or 7 new bodies on this D line, which I think is awesome. I don't necessarily love the secondary a ton. Max Melton should be nice. Will Johnson, let's see what he's got as a rookie. Could have some bumps early on. Budda Baker, 7th Pro Bowl, he's a stud. It's going to be, can those 2 young bucks hold up and live up to their draft status? And this defensive line has to be better. For me, it's you know what? This is a good team on paper. That's why I have them 8 and 9. But for me, it's Kyler Murray down the stretch. That's what's holding me back from being all right, this team's ready to be a playoff team.
Yeah, no, that's fair. We've yet to see in Kyler, take that next step forward, show why he was the number 1 overall pick. So I think that is a very key point. And, it'll be interesting because, I think they have the tools. They just need to figure out how to take that next step, and they've yet to prove, what it is. And, it definitely begs an interesting question where it's if you, miss the playoffs again, you really still can't move on from Kyler. But Cardinals fans got to be getting to a point where they're is it time? If you can't get it done and get us into the playoffs, let's just get him off the books. But I don't think that's going to happen yet. I think the contract's too big to get out of.
Yeah, the contract is massive, and it's for me, it's Kyler is good. He has a high floor. I just don't know how high his ceiling is. I don't know if he's good enough to lead him to ultimately a Super Bowl. That's what you care about, right? At what point do you pull a plug if you can't get to the Super Bowl? And for me, it's having this team at 8 and 9 is I think the Rams roster is better. I've seen the Rams go deep in the playoffs. I think the Niners roster, now it might be weaker in some spots than Arizona's, but they have more star power, and I've seen them go deep in the playoffs. Arizona, I haven't seen it yet, so it's holding me back from having them top one of those teams to potentially sneak in for a wild card spot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm on the same page with you with that. It's just hard for me to fully buy into them, and even if they do, make it to the playoffs, are you fully sold that Kyler actually can put together enough games of being at the highest level possible? So
no,
I think if they do make the playoffs, they're probably one and done.
Yeah, because if they're going to be on the road, I don't think they can go and beat, for argument's sake, a Philadelphia, Detroit,
even a San Fran, who we think will be better.
I don't know. Maybe they could beat San Fran, but because they're divisional opponents. But I still would take San Fran, that's been in the playoffs at home 9 times out of 10 over Arizona.
Yeah.
With all that being said, who is your MVP for this team?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Trey McBride, man. I think he is the catalyst. He's Kyler's safety blanket. He's the big target, big reception guy, and I think he's going to have more touchdowns, like I said earlier. But, we've seen, what elite tight ends can do for teams like Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce in recent memory. Those 2 guys, they take teams to this whole nother level, and they change the position. That's, usually not a lot of top tier guys, but he's a whole nother element that a lot of teams don't have that he is to that offense.
I agree 100%, man. He's just a guy that could change the entire dynamic, and you can't put Marv over McBride. McBride was much better last year. We've seen McBride do it for 2 years. He's the number 1 target right now, even though you hope Marv develops into that. But yeah, I got to go Trey McBride too. I agree with you 100%. Who's your X factor?
Marv is my X factor. He needs to show why he was, a top 5 pick, show why he was getting all that buzz is next up. And, I hate to say, but he's got to, when your dad's Marvin Harrison Jr., there's going to be big expectations on you as well. But, he's got to develop and show that he's a true alpha. And, take some of the pressure off of Kyler and McBride and, really build a tandem where it's like, hey, you can't double either of these guys because the other guy's so freaking good.
I know. I mean, that's a great call. And especially when you look at last year, what Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. did being picked right behind you.
Even Ladd, bro.
Yeah, and Ladd, so a guy in the second round where it's like, look, you were pegged as the generational player of the entire wide receiver class in what is a loaded wide receiver class. So I think that's a great call. I'm going to go with Kyler Murray down the stretch. What I've been saying the whole time. From week 10 on, when it's cold weather football and you're on the road, can you win big games? When you have the projected third most difficult schedule from week 11 on, are you going to show up? Are you clutch? Can you lead a team to the postseason? Can you be a leader? I've never liked Kyler's mannerisms on the sideline. I've never liked his kind of pouting attitude. He is absolutely talented. He won a Heisman for a reason. He's been damn good for period of stretches in the league. He's been an MVP frontrunner halfway through the season. But what are you going to do when it matters most in cold weather football at the back end of the year? That's my X factor.
I like that. That's also a very good pick because he's, a huge question mark, if not the biggest.
That was my debate with Marv or Kyler. So I'm happy you picked Marv, and I'm happy I picked Kyler. Who's your rookie of the year?
Yeah, it's going to be Will Johnson for me, man. I am, granted, he's really the only one that's slated to play right now as a starter. I mean, you would imagine Nolan will get a lot of playing time, but right now he's actually not slated to be a starter, and neither is BJ Ojulari. So I'm going to go with Will Johnson, man. I think this team struggles in the secondary significantly, and I think they're getting Will Johnson at a huge value. So I'm buying into, the Will Johnson of 2 years ago and thinking he's going to bounce back from some of these injuries. I think Gannon's going to unlock this fella.
I also went with Will Johnson.
Bro.
I'm sorry, man. It's like you look at this class, like it's I don't see a ton of highly productive players right away, and Walter Nolan being one of them. I just get very bad PTSD from Robert Nkemdiche, and it's like, okay, like he's not going to play over Calais Campbell. He's not going to play over Dalvin Tomlinson, I don't think, right now. Like, there's still concerns there. He's still raw. So for me, it's got to be Will Johnson, who is going to start at CB2. The question is, are we going to get 2023 Will Johnson where, he was one of the best players on that championship caliber team for Michigan? Or is he going to struggle in man coverage, get beat deep, and have injury concerns like he had last year? For me, I'm going to bank on the talent winning out here, and that Arizona got a steal where they got him.
Fair.
Now, who's your depoy? Are you going Budda Baker, the 7-time Pro Bowler, or maybe one of their new shiny
Josh Sweat? I think
nice.
Josh Sweat is going to take over. I think he's going to be everything as advertised. I think Rich Gannon knows this guy. He's obviously coached this guy back in Philadelphia early in his career before he became the, elite player he was last year for Philadelphia, and a big catalyst for why they, not only had a big playoff run, but went on to win the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I think he's going to hopefully, do everything he's supposed to and be a big sack guy. I'm hoping he's over double digits this year and really solidifies this pass rush, because I think there's a lot of guys around him that can make it happen where he's not going to be like, oh, that's their only guy. Like, we're going to double and triple team him every time.
Yeah, it's a great pick. I'll go the other route and go with the Budda Baker. When you have Melton and Johnson, two very young players, like there's going to be a lot on Budda Baker's shoulders on the back end of that defense. And, I remember a time where he requested a trade out of Arizona, and he ended up getting his contract that he deserved. He got another Pro Bowl last year on a defense that was not very good on paper, and he had to be a bit of a superhero. So I'm going to see the same thing happening this year, except I think he'll be able to force more turnovers with an actual pass rush in front of him. Like, this D-line was 28th in pass rush win rate last year. They're going to be wrecking more havoc. Yeah, Josh Sweat definitely going to be the main catalyst there, but I think it's going to create more opportunities for Budda Baker to force turnovers in the back end, which he's done a ton throughout his career. Fantasy football. Who you liking on this Cardinals offense?
I'm liking Trey McBride a lot at his value. I think he's going to be the number one tight end this year. I think the touchdowns will be up. But I think by the end of the year, like, he actually might have, for like running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends, like, I think he'll finish as the top 12 guy. So I'm super high on him. Marv I'd be taking too because I don't think the value is too crazy. I think Michael Wilson, I've taken him in a couple best ball leagues late, and I'll take him in a couple redraft leagues late just because he's the number 2 wide receiver on an offense that I think will be high powered. And even Trey Benson, I've been taking some stock just because James Conner's a guy that's dealt with injuries, time to time where he'll miss a game here or there, and even if Connor doesn't take a step back, where I'm also taking him as well, just because it seems like he is the bell cow. I think Benson may get a role, so I'm cool with stashing him late, and Connor being at the 5th, 6th round. I mean, if he does stay healthy, he's going to be elite. So a lot of guys in this offense I really like. There's no one I'm really staying away from. Even Kyler, I would take a quarterback because the rushing upside's there, to add into the passing stats.
Yeah, so for me, James Conner, I think, is a great pick at his ADP. He's not the sexiest name in your lineup for sure, but you can't deny the production. You can't deny the workhorse role that he's had in this offense. So yeah, I'm taking Conner. I'm also taking Trey Benson as a handcuff in best ball too, in case Conner does go down, because they took Benson in the 2nd round for a reason last year. Like, eventually he's gonna be the guy that takes over this backfield. And I think it's an offense that can be very beneficial. Like, they should be a top half of the league offense with the talent. Well, at least for the first half of the season until Kyler falls off a cliff. But yeah, I'm smashing Marv. I stayed fully away from Marv last year because his ADP was up in he was getting picked anywhere from 10 to 15, which I thought was ridiculous for a rookie. Now I will happily buy the discount and bank on that talent, hoping that they got a better scheme in place to get him more involved. I think I saw that he didn't have a single catch at or behind the line of scrimmage last year. Like, nothing easy for him to get some quick yards, that PPR points up. That will change this year. It's not going to be all downfield shots for him. I'll bank on the talent. Of course, McBride, absolute stud. Smash him. I'm fine taking him in the 2nd round. But that's kind of where my head's at for the Arizona Cardinals offense.
Yeah. I'm in agreement. Let's go, Marv. Let's have a big year 2 jump. Cardinals, why not get into the playoffs? Well, I don't think you will. I think you'll definitely be on the cusp of it. Kyler's just got to prove it. I mean, I'd be higher on him if we just didn't see Kyler falter down the stretch, but I hope I'm wrong because I really do, like this team.
Let's go, Kyler. Show up and show out. We need you the 2nd half of the season, Cardinals fans.
Yes, that we do. But I think that's all we got for tonight, right, brother?
That is all we got, man. Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Check out the rest of our mini-series. Let us know why you think Kyler Murray is not going to have his play fall off a cliff at the back half of the season.